All right, the quick intro. You got to be ready, man. That thing jumps on you quick. It's our 12th episode of Splash Hit Territory. Susan Slusser joins us again today. Susan, how you doing? You're in San Francisco.
Great.
I'm in San Francisco. We're both in San Francisco. Woohoo!
Back in the Bay. Very happy about that.
Yeah,
Yay.
well, we're also happy about the subscribers we're having right now. We're getting there. So we want you guys to like and subscribe. Go to YouTube, check it all out. It's super easy. We're checking out the views for these. They're growing every single time. The shows are starting to flow. We're having a great time. We're going to have Buck Showalter on Monday, so we're excited to have Buck on. But in the meantime, you're fresh off of Orlando, the winter meetings. You're back in San Francisco. Maybe a little recap from somebody boots on the ground who was there.
Yeah, well, and you mentioned Buck. One of the reasons that we are eager to talk to Buck, and we'd been hoping to talk to him for a while, is obviously he's somebody with not exactly the same background as Tony Vitello, but a little bit. You know, he kind of was an against the grain, hadn't played in the big leagues kind of manager, and he had to fight some of that early on. So I think his take on Vitello and Buck obviously has been a member of the media as well as one of the successful managers of the last couple of decades. So I'm going to be interested to see what he thinks of what the Giants are doing and or are not doing, because so far it's been kind of slow winter meetings for the Giants, slow winter meetings in general. The Dodgers get better. Shocker that one truly great closer out there, they get him. Pete Alonso goes to Baltimore. Kyle Schwarber goes back to Philadelphia. Besides that, not a lot else. Although we'll talk about some of the smaller things that I don't want to say small. Getting a Rule 5 draft potential backup catcher, I think, is a big deal, and we'll get to that too. But what were your impressions from here about the winter meetings and what may or may not
what's there to have an impression about? I mean, I just watched MLB Network, and you were there. I'll say this, Susan. I was out last night with a bunch of Giants fans, and they're friends of mine, and they're very concerned. They're worried. So, I don't think you necessarily have to get deals done at the winter meeting to get deals done. But like, you're hearing things, you're there. Should Giants fans be worried right now? Should we be upset? Should we be scared? Should we be worried? Like the ones I talked to last night are like, we're not spending any money. What are we doing?
My takeaway from everything is it's really hard to read what the Giants are doing right now. Like, it's some mixed messages. I think I wrote a couple times during the winter meeting. Like, Greg Johnson tells the Chronicle, me, last month, and John Shea, my former Chronicle colleague, now at the SF Standard, he told both of us last month that they're not looking to do long-term deals. I think everybody is more than familiar with this whole scenario, not looking to do a lot of long-term deals, 4, 5, 6 year type things, 9 figures, not something they're really looking to do. Buster Posey and Zach Manassian have been talking to a lot of the big name, particularly starters. Almost every agent I spoke to, and all of this is sort of on background, not for attribution. So I'm not going to name some of the names that I was asking about, but they all said, yeah, the Giants have called on him. So that was a question to Buster Posey the day one in Orlando. Are you in? Are you out on some of these big name guys? And he said he feels like anytime he goes to the front office, goes to ownership with a really good plan. I think I mentioned this in the last show. That ownership has been very supportive. So, but not getting anything done. I mean, they still have not, as we are taping this, still have not announced their coaching staff, which seems, after, what are we talking, more than 5 weeks? That seems a little bit surprising. So I don't think that that's certainly connected to any of their free agency pursuits or what they might do in trades. But it just seems like, and Buster's not cautious. We know Buster Posey is not a cautious person. He's willing to be bold. But it does seem like, let's see some news. I know they're not going to go like fans want news, media wants news. We got to do something, but it does seem a little slower than usual. So maybe it is, we're doing our due diligence on all of these guys, but maybe nobody's appealing enough to them to go to ownership to say, let's spend big bucks. My impression, one agent told me he thinks that they have laid the groundwork for some things, and Zach Manassian said the same thing. And that agent thought that the Giants will probably fill at least a hole or two sometime in the next 2 weeks, and potentially with something significant. So honestly, we're not privy to these things, FP, as you know. We just kind of have to ask people around the edges who have an idea. And the agents think they're going to do something, and the Giants are signaling maybe they'll be a little bit more cautious. Reasons for it: they're in a division with a team that is going to be tough to compete with no matter what you do. We said this before last year, and the year before. The Giants could spend hundreds of extra $1 million more and still finish third or fourth in this division. And that's exactly what happened.
So I was telling my friends last night at this function the same thing I said on the podcast last week about, maybe they're keeping it close to the vest. That's what Buster does. And then as I'm saying it, I'm like, am I full of crap now? Like, I'm starting to doubt what's coming out of my mouth, because like, am I just giving the company line? Because I believe this before the winter meetings. Like I'm a big believer in you just don't show your cards. We disagree on that. You think you should let the fan base know that you're trying. I would just I'd like to, out of nowhere, out of left field, we traded for this guy or we signed this guy. And then as I was saying it to my friends last night, I'm like, are you completely full of S right now? Because I'm starting to wonder. And if I'm wondering, I guess the reason I'm saying this is, are the players wondering? Like, what are the players thinking right now? What is Logan Webb thinking? What is Matt Chapman thinking? What's Willie Adames thinking? What's Rafael Devers thinking? What's Robbie Ray thinking? What are these guys thinking right now when you turn on TV and you're like, this team that we're trying to chase is getting even better? And there's rumors about Tarek Skubal going to the Dodgers in a huge trade. I mean, if they get that guy, why even play the games this year? Like, seriously. So
even radical realignment would not get the Giants away from the Dodgers. So
what is going on there? Anyways, so yeah, I'm hoping there's some things on the back burner that we're going to get surprised. But even I'm if I go player mode right now, I'd be like, what are we doing? What are we doing right now?
One thing I will say is Scott Boras. He does his punny little state of Scott Boras's clients thing at the winter meetings, as
by the way,
entertaining / groan inducing as usual. And he did connect the Giants pretty firmly with Cody Bellinger, who in my mind, let's put the money aside, how much it would cost, how likely it is that they could get him, to me would fill basically two huge needs. The defense, obviously, in the outfield.
Good.
And he's also a pretty good offensive player. Cost is going to be high. The years are probably going to be high. That's obviously not what we're hearing that they're interested in doing. But he got thrown out there with a bunch of other guys. Thoughts on Cody Bellinger? And then we'll talk about another potential Boras client. And, they haven't really jumped at Boras clients in this last year, not since they did finished the Chapman deal. So your thoughts on Cody Bellinger?
He's a winning player. And the Giants need winning players. And my first thought about Cody Bellinger is the elite defense and the arm strength. And the Giants need to improve on defense. He made some plays in left field last year for the Yankees, shoestring catches, throwing a seed on the money right to the first baseman, doubling guys up. And then another thing the Giants need is two-strike approach. And Cody Bellinger does have a two-strike approach. He'll do that little crickety swing where he flips something softly into left field. I know he can strike out. But like the power, the average, the speed, still, he's an above average first baseman too. So I don't know where that fits into the scheme when the Giants have 1,000 first basemen. But like he's a plus defender and a plus base runner. That just popped into my head too. So the Giants need all of those things. And I've always been a fan of Cody Bellinger.
If they go out and spend, to me, he's the guy. He's going to be far less than Kyle Tucker. I know a lot of people would rather see them get Kyle Tucker, but Kyle Tucker is going to be in the 400 million plus range. And these are all just projections that we work off. But I think Bellinger is projected for more like the 150 million range, which they're saying, we're not crazy about the 9-year or the 9-figure deal. Okay. I think you're going to have to do that to get somebody like him. It's probably not likely. I'm not saying they're going out and getting him, but they certainly have been among the teams that have called in on him. And that's, to me, I think that's a good thing. I know fans sometimes go, "We're tired of agents using us to get bigger deals." But I will tell you, there that some of the deals that already have been done in Orlando, I think have already affected that market. Particularly Alonso going to the Orioles. That signals the Mets are going to have to pay for a bat, another bat, and word is they're going. I mean, of course, the Mets got listed in that long list of. I don't know if everybody saw the sort of which team needs a giant bat and who's going to dodge problems, all whatever whatever it was. But
Dr.
I
Seuss.
think the Mets are going to go hard after Bellinger. So I think that potentially drives up the cost. And at that point, I don't know how in or out they would be. But Schwarber also going, that takes a big bat off the table too. So I don't know. You're going to have to spend. Do you do that? For me, they have to have a good defensive outfielder who also can swing the bat. Bellinger's the guy.
What if they don't do anything? What if that's it? And this is the team.
I mean, they're conceding. And look, do you go out and make kind of an very outside the box managerial hire, and then give him a roster that is going to have a tough time in an incredibly difficult division? Or do you give him enough of a roster to snag a playoff spot, finish second, maybe even third? You can still make the postseason. But if you're conceding, why do you go out and do that? That would be very unfair, in my opinion, to Tony Vitello to go like, hey, well, welcome to the big leagues. You've got a roster that is probably not going to be among the top 3 in your division.
Speaking of the new manager for the Giants, we've been joking in this podcast that you haven't met him yet. You haven't met him yet. You have met him now. You spent some time with him. You talked to him at the winter meetings. I would love to hear your initial impressions of the Giants' new manager.
Yeah, on our last show, it had been just such a small sample size. I wasn't sure, but it's really interesting. Yeah, he since that time, he did his official manager interview session at the winter meetings, which is open to sort of every media group. Talked for about 20-25 minutes. And he also did a little breakfast just with the San Francisco sort of beat that's in town. All the managers do that. So sit down for breakfast in a big conference room and just chit chat. And the one takeaway I have really, I mean, of course, all the things everyone says, personality plus, super engaging, very much a people person, all of that is true. He has mentioned numerous times sort of how overwhelmed he is and how new he feels. Everything is new. And I said at one point during the breakfast thing, sort of there's so many new managers this year, right? There are 10 new managers. He's actually part of a big group that's very new. And yes, he's the one that has no previous pro baseball experience of any kind, which means people are going to be watching, looking. If his manager's interview session was pretty heavily attended by people who are kind of, the novelty of it all. And at one point during that session, he referred to himself as a guinea pig and as potentially a sacrificial lamb, which is, I hope he starts to feel a little less overwhelmed really quickly. He's going to get up and running. Of course, once spring training's going, and Jace Tingler is unsurprisingly going to be his guy and sort of in charge of spring training, formerly big league manager, has done this a bunch. I think the day-to-day everything, I think he'll start to feel more comfortable. But yeah, he's one of 10 new guys. There's so much. I love that. I love all this. We're not just going with sort of some of the same old names, some new faces, but there are a lot of teams kind of going through this right now. The Giants are not the only one with a super newbie manager.
Well, I mean, I guess I like the transparency and the authenticity, but my hope for the Giants this year, and Tony Vitello's the captain of this ship, I want them to be the most hated team in baseball. I want them to have flair, to be cocky, to piss other teams off, to have their manager be like that too, and to hear him say things like, "I'm a guinea pig" or whatever. I need once he gets going, like you said, I need cocky Tony Vitello.
Yeah.
I don't want Tony to be. I want him to be the most hated manager in the big leagues because his team plays with swagger and cockiness and flair, and not just like last year. There was times when they're just playing. Like I
Right.
want the Giants to play with an edge. I would love for them to be. Well, this is probably going to piss a lot of Giants fans off, like the Oakland Raiders or the Las Vegas Raiders of the National League of Baseball. To where they're playing hardball. They're playing this brand of baseball where they're sliding late. They're sticking their foot in gloves and trying to knock the ball out. They're diving everywhere. They're flipping the bats like Drew Gilbert did in college. Who cares? Baseball is so friendly now. I don't want them to be friendly.
Yeah.
And I think if they play that way, that now all of a sudden, whatever the roster construction is and whatever deals they do, they have a chance to compete. And it has to be with an edge every single night. It can't just be once in a while. And it all starts with their manager. So, I spent some time with him, out and about after his press conference, and he was very overwhelmed. And that's understandable. And there's this sports psychology thing where it's called admit and conquer, where if you're afraid of something, you just admit it and then you conquer it. But if you suppress it, it's going to stay there longer. So maybe that's kind of the thinking right now. He's laying in the weeds. He's telling people he's overwhelmed, but meanwhile, he's going to come out guns blazing. That's my hope. But I want him. I need cocky Tony Vitello. I really do.
It's a little bit of a hustle, huh?
Maybe.
I like that theory. But he and Buster are both very much on the same page of you are not friends before the game. And I think I don't think we're gonna see a lot of hugs from Giants players to guys on the other team, which you know what is gonna be very tough for Willie Adames in particular, because he's like everyone in baseball's best buddy. He's gonna have to tie his hands behind his back. But
you play slap shot on a loop in the clubhouse, and the Hanson brothers, and we're coming out, and that's how we're playing baseball for 162 games this year.
Yeah, but Tony said, you can be friends after the game. That's great, just not before the game. You wanna crush them. You wanna absolutely demolish them, and I do love that. And, he's a guy who got ejected from college games. His teams were kinda noted for their brawls. So I do
Good.
think we're gonna get some of that kind of flavor. Maybe not some brawls, but hey, they got into a little bit of a dust up last year. So there's some guys in there with that. We did, as long as Chapman stays away from getting suspended, I think we'll be good. But two other quick little things
Okay.
from the winter meetings that I don't want to miss. First of all, it seems we had all assumed that Logan Webb was going to be on the WBC team, the U.S. team. He's had some talks with them. I asked Mark DeRosa. They've had chats. We then asked Buster Posey, and Buster, unsurprisingly, and Zach Manassian do not sound overly enthusiastic about having their best pitcher involved in the WBC. So I think that is still TBA. Whether I know Logan wants to 100%. If he doesn't, this is going to be because the team says, hey, maybe, and you can join in later rounds. I think if he participates, he might be a late ad. That would make some sense. But I have always thought teams have every right to say to any of their top players, you know what, we need you to either ease up or do it next time. Remember Scott Kazmir, who was one of my favorite people at the Olympics. He basically was retired, came out of retirement, and was a big part of that Olympic team. Maybe that's the sort of guy for I know the WBC is a very good, very, it's a great tournament for baseball, a lot of national pride, but I think maybe some of the guys at the later stages there, like Wainwright did, I think that would be great. So anyway, that's not a done deal. And then the other thing is the Giants, we have not mentioned the backup catcher spot very much at all. And the Giants in the Rule 5 draft, they didn't take a catcher, but they traded for a Rule 5 catcher, Daniel Susac, who, yes, is Andrew Susac's brother, and doesn't necessarily mean he is the backup catcher, but it does create some interesting competition there with Jesus Rodriguez, who I think is still probably the front runner, but doesn't have as much experience. And I'm looking forward to seeing that. A little competition is good. Also does not rule out them signing somebody else. I'm sure they'll sign a minor league free agent catcher, maybe even something more significant. I'm not quite sure. I know you love Real Muto, but I'm not sure I could see that happening. But options are great.
Options are great. My thoughts on Logan Webb. He's led the league in innings. How many years in a row now? There's a lot of miles on that car, man, and I need him to be in his routine and be ready for the season. I'm not anti-WBC. I think it's great, and I think Mark DeRosa is doing a really good job of assembling a good team. But when your ace, it leads the league in innings every single year, you need to conserve those innings, and you can't. The Giants can't afford to have him be thrown out of whack and it affect his 30-something starts this year. So. As much as I would love to be like, yeah, that's Webby, that's our guy, USA, I'd rather see him on the corner of 3rd and King dealing than that.
Yeah.
All right. We have to get to Duane Kuiper and talk about the Ford C. Frick Award. I'll start this one. I wouldn't be a broadcaster or in broadcasting if it wasn't for Duane. And I think I would love to see him and Kruk get in together, because they're such a great duo, and in my mind, my idols when it comes to broadcasting, and people too. And I would like to see that award, Kuip aside, reflect the grind of the everyday broadcaster. And I know they've cut back on games recently, but throughout their career, they've done all the games all year. And when I first became a broadcaster full-time in Washington in 2011, my boss told me, he said, FP, this is a grind, man. He goes, and I laughed at him like, come on, I'm not playing. It's all I got to do is talk. And it's true. 162 games when you have to articulate and be on, and the flight gets in at 3 a.m, and you got a day game the next day, and you're kind of staring at the screen going, I should probably talk right now. When the season's over, you take a big, deep breath and you're like, oh my gosh, that was hard. It's not physically hard, but mentally hard. So I love Joe Buck, and I know I hear a lot of criticism of Joe Buck. I think he's wonderful. I enjoy listening to him on the football broadcast. But I think the Ford C. Frick Award, no matter if it's a Giants guy or not, should be representative of the person that has a connection with the city, the fan base, the team, for a number of years, and is great at doing it. So I tweeted this the other day, and it got a lot of play. I said, what other broadcaster has lost a spouse, battled cancer, and still brings excellence every single night, and is what he's taught me what it means to be a professional, and he knows how important it is to be the voice of our summer. Like Kuip and Kruk, as funny as they are, they realize how lucky they are, and they realize they have the greatest jobs in the world, and they realize it's important to the fan base. So I'm kind of bummed that I was bummed all day, and we've been texting back and forth and saying some nice things to each other, but I think he needs to get in. I think Kruk needs to get in eventually.
Well, this has been my take for a long time. Put them in together. The Hall has pushed back against that, essentially saying we don't do that. They did do that the very first year. Mel Allen and Red Barber went in together. A lot of times when either different wings or halls are starting, your first class is going to be bigger for obvious reasons. But those two were a broadcast team. So it is not totally unprecedented. Perhaps there's some sort of we don't want to say they're Red Barber and Mel Allen because, those are two icons of forever. Kruk and Kuiper, local guys, iconic here, not national guys. Joe Buck clearly got the sort of the national angle there. There's the neat connection with first father and son both to get the award. First guy to be both in the NFL Hall of Fame and the Baseball Hall of Fame. Okay, great. But Joe Buck, love him or not care for him, doesn't matter. He's almost 20 years younger than Duane Kuiper. He barely does baseball anymore. And there's a backlog of really good, when you looked at that whole ballot was really strong. Sort of like when we were talking about Bonds and Kent, that whole ballot was, I talked to Dusty Baker the other day about Kent, and he was like, you look at that ballot. He's like, I thought Mattingly could get in, Dale Murphy. These are all packed ballots. So to me, even more reason to put Kruk and Kuip in together. They are both so wonderful. When you talk to either one of them, they say, if only one of us goes in, I want it to be the other guy. They've consistently say that, and it's genuine. It's absolutely genuine. That's what the Hall of Fame should be rewarding. They love character. These are two high character guys. And you put them in together. What a joyous, wonderful moment that would be. that would be great for the Hall of Fame. It would be great for baseball. It would be great for sports broadcasters everywhere to have that kind of beautiful, wonderful. That's what the hall is supposed to be about, is joy, joy of baseball and all of that. Celebrating. This would be celebrating one of the great pairings of broadcasters all time. Absolutely beloved in their home area and starting to get a little up there. And obviously, both have have had challenging health issues. Put them in together. You can say it's a one-time thing. We'll never do it again. Whatever. I don't care how it happens. And I will tell you, some of the voters have argued for that. I know some of the voting body is past Frick winners. John Miller is among them. I can't say who has
Who do you think John
championed the
voted
idea
for?
of both. Let's get him on and grill him. But there have been past Frick winners who are very much in favor of putting in Kruk and Kuip together. I think this has been sort of a hall thing that maybe this isn't what they want to do, but you know, I live in hope. If they show up on the ballot together the next time, I hope that's a harbinger that maybe they go in together. They were not both on this ballot, so maybe.
Well, look, it's not going to change Duane's life whether he gets in or not. I mean,
Yeah.
it isn't. But we want that for him, and we want
100%.
that for Mike. And Dave will be there someday too.
Yeah.
So you're gonna have four. Dave's going to be our Vin Scully.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh,
that's
he's phenomenal, and
that's
also
just
and also versatile. He's amazing.
yeah.
So
So
we you mentioned we have Buck on Monday.
yes,
We also, I think we're going to do our first mailbag. We've been talking about a mailbag. I think we're going to do that later next week. So make sure, and maybe next week, because there will be news in between then. But next week, feel free to start sending us questions either in the YouTube comments, on Twitter. FP and I are both on Twitter, X. I think that those would be great. We will have little, I hope, snapshots of questions and be able to answer that. But I think everybody's going to enjoy you talking to Buck. I think on Monday or Tuesday of next week. So
Buck's
fantastic.
the best.
Yeah.
Did you see our mutual friend Eric Chavez? He was the hitting coach of the Mets, and he got let go. And on Instagram yesterday, he did the question thing, like, "What do you think about the Mets offseason?" So all the former A's teammates, we got on there, and we're like, "What's it like being so ridiculously good looking?" And we were just asking ridiculous questions, like Frankie Metaketo and me. So yeah, we'll take the ridiculous questions too. Those are always fun.
Absolutely.
All right, Susan, good job. I'll let you go. Thanks again. You're the best. And
Back at
I
ya.
will look forward to next time. Follow us, you guys. Follow us on Instagram at Splash Hit Territory, on Twitter at Splash Hit Territory. Go to YouTube, search us. We love you guys. Like I say on the way out every single time, swing hard in case you hit it.